Hi, this is the second part of a tragically mismanaged and very badly produced podcast on the relationship between Mahatma Gandhi and Edward Bulwer Lytton, the father of a viceroy of India. But it's not the son who concerns us, it is Edward Bulwer Lytton, who in his life, who really by the 1830s, he really was perhaps the most influential British writer of the period, but he has almost disappeared from public awareness and critical recognition. Yet, the ordinary person like myself, we would come across one or two stories of classic stories, ghost stories, or the haunted and the haunter, and we'd be astonished by the power of there is a power to his writing. And the point I'd make is that Bulwer Lytton, who in fact was offered the throne of Greece, can you imagine? A mere writer, and he wasn't that posh. He was a baronet, and then he got promoted in the peerage for political reasons. And in many ways, he is a far more, a Disraeli. I've read Disraeli. I read Vivian Grey, and it is well written. But it was Bulwer Lytton, whom I find him unreadable. He's just. But I have to admit that if you look past the unreadability, the turgidity, you see, his engagement is with the very notion of power and the very notion of it's nothing on the surface. It is about power, and it is sexuality as well, and there are these undercurrents. You could say that he's a bit like Balzac, but come on, Balzac is just fucking great. And Bulwer Lytton, not Balzac, was a master of the universe. His son presided over, he was a viceroy of this huge empire, and there's really no comparison. What brings Bulwer Lytton and Mahatma Gandhi, what brings them into the same room? And the answer is it's Gandhi's a Sanskrit professor at the college in India that he attended, but he attended it very briefly. So this is Manilal Dwivedi, who started translating Bulwer Lytton's Zanuni. It's a supernatural sort of novel. And in Gujarati, it's now known as Gulab Singh. But this was a serial publication. And you see, Mahatma Gandhi at the time, he could read Gujarati. His English wasn't really that bad. He could read a little bit of English, he could follow. So he wasn't utterly stupid, but he could read Gujarati. He wasn't a cretin. And, he did read the magazine put out by his Sanskrit professor. He didn't learn any Sanskrit. But, I went to a school where I had a Sanskrit professor, a teacher, and I didn't learn any Sanskrit. Because, fuck Sanskrit. Was that going to get me a job? Well, yeah, it might. But, fuck Sanskrit anyway, because it's boring and it's stupid and it's, come on. I want to make money. And that's a good attitude to have. It is the secret of progress. Because once you make money, or you don't make money, it doesn't matter, then you go back to Sanskrit. Because there's nothing else. Because wealth, after a certain point, really does require to go to the things which are valuable. If only to look at them through a showcase, through a bulletproof glass. Anyway, but the fact of the matter is that, like the Maharaj, the leader of the Pushtimarg sect, who used to have sex with the wives of his disciples, but he had syphilis. And so there's a Maharaj libel case a few years before Mahatma Gandhi was born. And, the shadow was there upon Gandhi, especially because he was a law student. And that's why he says, I just wish my dad hadn't married my mum, because even if Daddy didn't send his wife number 4 off to get fucked, the supposition was there. And, they come from a very good family. Gandhis are Modbanya. They're very good. But, the guy is a divan. He's occupied a particular position. And that suggestion is always there. And I know about this. This is very Indian. It's very, very Indian. This can be said about any caste, that, this guy, to keep that position, he sends his wife, he sends his daughter, he sends his son for fucking. And we hate it. We really loathe it. We really loathe it. And that's why, Arundhati Roy, she's made the completely unfounded suggestion in her first book that her father, a Bengali Hindu, wanted to send her mother, who was a Kerala Christian, not a good-looking lady by any means, to the white British tea planter. And this is ludicrous. This is ludicrous because you have good-looking women right there, and why would you do that? But this is the allegation she makes in A God of Small Things. And it's just nonsense. But that's why, the Indians tolerated her. The Indians said, Arundhati Roy, she's a good Hindutva girl, because firstly she shows that the Christians are the most casteist. They're much more casteist than we are. In fact, they actually go and bloody kill some low-caste Hindu for the temerity of... Whereas the Hindus would not have done that. It's stupid. Because the guy has got some talent. And if he's keeping a woman happy, we got to use that. You got to use that. Clearly, in his last life, he was Narada Muni, or he was this Muni or that Muni. Or, within a religion, you don't waste talent. And religion cuts across everything, because basically religion says, hey, we've got all the things that the other religion has within our pantry. So you don't want to exclude shit. Now, the sad thing about Bulwer Lytton, he was a very smart guy, and he was pretty much on the same page as Balzac and so on. And, Disraeli and so forth, these guys understood the zeitgeist, they understood their, during the course of the 19th century, by the end of the 18th century, there were these new ideas, which could be associated with revolutionary movements like the Illuminati and the Freemasons, of course, and the Rosicrucians, and so forth. That element was there. Marx was aware of this as well. But there was also this hunger, a spiritual hunger for a religion of man, which had a scientific basis and which incorporated these new ideas like mesmerism and electricity, and well, Lytton does that. And, you have very different tendencies. I mean, I remember when I was young, I thought vril, the concept of vril say this is really a libertarian concept, and it links, I went to study at the LSE. I didn't, because I'm shit at English and Hindi, and I couldn't do arts. But my dad was posted to London, so I got into the LSE, but at the age of 16, so I couldn't really absorb the maths. And also I'm stupid, so I couldn't absorb the maths. But, it's like in game theory. I remember in my second year, and, reading around, it was, you had the well-developed concept of price of anarchy. And price of anarchy, you can reinterpret that. Or that's how I've done it. I've reinterpreted price of anarchy. In other words, what would a libertarian society look like where everybody has a complete veto? Where you can destroy the society, everybody has a suicide bomb which can blow up the whole of society. What would that look like? So this is the interesting thing about vril. What would happen? It's a thought experiment, like the Rawlsian thought experiment of what happens behind the veil of ignorance. And, if you look at, I had a professor called Professor Binmore who assured me that I was stupid as shit. Thank you, Binmore. But, his work, unlike Amartya Sen's work, Binmore helped do the auction design, which brought £10 billion into the British internal revenue. He did auction design for the 3G spectrum auction. So that's useful, And he says, I'm a Whig. In other words, a old-fashioned 19th century liberal who, of course, the Whigs thought us black people went quite I'm joking. He's not a fucking racist. He's a nice guy. But, obviously there are limitations to that point of view. And the fact of the matter is, it was not the 3G auction which mattered. What mattered was turning this country into the innovator which would earn big bucks out of 4G and 5G and 6G and so on. So, yeah, But Binmore, he's a good guy. Not rubbish. Amartya Sen, completely rubbish. Worthless. I remember Binmore showing us his simpler way of deriving Arrow's theorem and going, fuck. These guys just made each other stupid. And the reason that people like Bulwer Lytton, and there were plenty of stupid people already back then, there was Condorcet, there was Jeremy Bentham, and so on. So all these ideas, which I've ascribed to the Whigs, to Binmore, who is a good guy, and who taught me, and who also would point his finger at me in class and say, if we have any accountants among us, he pointed me, the accountants should know to, and he meant accountant as in a derogatory manner. And of course, this was back in 1979, so, the fact that I was black, I couldn't sort of say that that's racist, you're fucking racist. And it wasn't racist, and, he's a big, tall guy, and I bought him a drink, and he bought me a drink, and, he's a nice guy. So I'm not trying to say Binmore destroyed my life. But he did really destroy my life in a different manner, because he was the only professor, the only mathematician that I knew who could actually speak English. And what he should have done was, told us about what was happening in category theory. Sort of. But he's employed to teach a particular course and to do some research and to fuck off from LSE and go to UCL and fuck off from there. And there was no. I remember him telling me about. He said, well, Minkowski said that Einstein was shit at maths, and his implication was that I was shit at maths, which, of course. But I was 16. Nobody's shit at maths at 16. They're shit at maths at 17 and 18. But you got to give it a try. And the other thing is that, what the Germans had was they had the mathematical culture, as a idea, and they were actually supporting each other. And they were, if you knew something outside your narrow purview was interesting, you tell your students about it. And at the LSE that didn't happen, probably because it was a shit second-rate academic institution where, as far as I know, there wasn't a single, good mathematician. There's nobody there. It was a worthless. It was a worthless place. And I was paying. I was actually working, and I was paying money to these cunts to. I got a piece of paper which enabled me to earn a bit of money, but it was a con, and the reason I bring this up in the context of Bulwer Lytton and Mahatma Gandhi is that, you see, Bulwer Lytton and Gandhi, they didn't go to that sort of college. They didn't go to the LSE at a time when it was completely shit. It may be different now, but it was shit when I went there. But Samaldars College or the Inns of Court weren't shit. And the education that Bulwer Lytton, that he got, wasn't shit at all. Furthermore, you had a literature where, a good writer, if a young writer sent him something and said, look, I've been really making a great study of this Persian bloke or this ancient Sumerian or Chaldean bloke, and this is my translation, and the senior man would look at it. So this was a idea which had, or this was a system, an epistemic system, which was about teaching, which is about looking after the young, where there was an element of reciprocity, where it was scientific. It's exactly what you find in the